Question 21. A project manager is faced with making a decision about a risk that the team has identified. The risk involves the design of a bicycle. It has been found that the neck of the bicycle, where the steering bearing is located and the two supporting bars of the frame come together, will corrode in a high salt environment. If this takes place, may fail and injure the rider. The project team decides that the design of the bicycle should be modified by using corrosion-resistant materials in the design of the neck. This will eliminate the risk from consideration. This technique is called risk avoidance, risk acceptance, risk rejection, risk deflection. Answer A is the correct choice. Risk avoidance. Question 22. A problem occurs in the design of a grocery cart. In this case, it is determined that the wheels will wear out much quicker in areas of heavy snow and ice, because the salt will corrode the wheel bearings. Using sealed bearing wheels will significantly increase cost, and it is determined that the carts themselves will be rusty and damaged at about the same time the wheel bearings begin to fail. By injecting the wheel bearings with a high temperature grease, the life of the wheel bearings is increased considerably. The project recommends using the high temperature grease. This is called risk acceptance, risk avoidance, risk mitigation, risk deflection. Answer C is a correct choice, risk mitigation. Question 23. The contingency budget will reduce the probability of scope changes, reduce the probability of cost overruns, increase the probability of a cost overruns, increase the probability of scope changes. Answer B is the correct choice. Reduce the probability of cost overruns. Question 24. A risk has 4 possible outcomes. Given the following information, what is the expected value EV of this risk? Probability 0.4, result of the risk minus 10,000. Probability 0.3, result of risk minus 7,500. Probability 0.2, result of risk minus 5,000. Probability 0.1, result of risk plus 2,500. Answer D is the correct choice, minus 7,000. Question 25. The project has done its risk analysis. In the process of risk identification, the project team has determined that there are risks that will probably happen that have not been identified or evaluated except by noting that other projects of this type have historically had a certain amount of risk discussed in the lessons learned of the project. This project team should set aside money to handle these risks in which financial category? Risk management fund, contingency budget, management reserve, emergency fund. Answer C is a correct choice, management reserve. Question 26. A project manager observes that in one part of the project several activities are being completed late. All of these activities have several days of free float associated with them. These are early warnings of the risk that the project will be late in completion. They are called risk triggers, warning messages, risk forecasts, schedule risks. Answer A is the correct choice. Risk triggers. Question 27. The effect of risk on scheduled dates for the project creates an array of dates that are possible for project completion. In a typical project, the most likely date for the project will have which of the following relationships with the expected value for the project completion date. The most likely date will be earlier than the expected date value. The most likely date will be later than the expected value date. Both dates will have the same likelihood. The most likely date and the expected value date will occur at the same time. Answer A is the correct choice. The most likely date will be earlier than the expected value date. Question 28. A project manager is reviewing the risks of her project. One of the risks she is reviewing has an impact of $25,000 and an associated probability of 10%. The risk is associated with an activity that is the predecessor to 7 other activities in the schedule. All 8 activities are on the critical path. The 7 other activities have a budget of $75,000. What is the expected value of this risk? $10,000, $100,000, $25,000, $2,500. Answer D is the correct choice. $2,500. Question 29. In probability theory, what is the probability that if you roll 2 dice cubes with consecutive numbers 1 to 6 on each of the 6 faces, you will have at least one 6? 1 over 3, 11 over 36, 1 over 36, 1 over 6. Answer B is the correct choice. 11 over 36. Question 30. A project manager is looking at the risk associated with the project schedule, realizing that if the risks occur, the project will be delivered to the stakeholders late. The project manager decides to consider the risk and promise delivery later than the most likely project completion date. He then takes the time between the promised date and the most likely completion date and distributes it among the activities of the project schedule. This creates float in the schedule. This process is called schedule delay, critical chain scheduling, buffering, contingency scheduling. Answer C is the correct choice. Buffering.